Yo, what's going on, everybody? Straw Hat Central here, and I want to say welcome to the channel. Currently, we're on our way to 1K, and I want to be able to hopefully hit that goal by the end of November. If you're someone that wants to help me out on that journey, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're already a subscriber, I appreciate you already, and leaving a like and commenting can still help me reach that goal. About a week ago, Leffen solidified himself as one of the best Chipp players in the world by winning EVO. The interesting thing about Strive is that you can look at the game and at its core kind of understand what's happening, and it can be hard to really see what's separating one player from another, or why X works when one person does it and doesn't work when you do it. So here I wanted to take the time to break down some of Leffen's EVO run and be able to talk about some of the things that you can take from him to be able to implement in your game to get better. So the first thing you'll notice about Leffen in general is that he's always looking for the knockdown. Chipps have the ability to go from his 2D into the Rekkas, but you can purposely choose to not go into the Rekkas with the intentions of being able to force your mix-up when your opponent is hard knocked down.
Enough to be like, okay, I'm
Prophecy time.
Didn't get a punish of it, however.
Fighting out. Good.
Going into the Rekkas is going to push your opponent into a soft knockdown, which kind of forgoes the opportunity. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Leffen never goes for the Rekka follow-up after the sweep, but he never really goes for it when it's mid-screen. The only time you would see him really opt for it is for maybe like a last minute damage to finish off an opponent, or to gain stage control by forcing that opponent into that corner with those 2 extra hits. So even though they may get a soft knockdown and he doesn't get a hard mix-up off of it, he has that stage control with the wall, with his opponent's back to the wall, which kind of makes it worth it as well. While that's all fine and dandy, that's definitely not something unique to Leffen, right? Like most Chipps go for the hard knockdown over anything else, right? However, what's unique to Leffen is what he decides to do after.
And then he's going with it. I respect it because the cross-up works for Leffen. Fighting out. The jumping. I respect it because the cross-up works for Leffen. I was searching for the answer. You already knew it. It is damage.
So Leffen often uses a FDC, or a Faultless defense cancel, which is the green bubble. And he often uses that in a very specific setup that he tends to do every time. And it's very ambiguous as to which side he's going to land on. He also can switch up the timing of it as well. What makes this so dangerous is the fact that from the same setup, which visually looks the same to their opponent, you're getting completely different results. So this makes it so that your opponent isn't able to just know what you're going to do just based off of the cues or just seeing you start it up in the first place. They won't know what's going to happen until it happens. So let's kind of go into how it works, right? So first I'm going to talk about what the Faultless defense cancel of the Air Dash does. So using Faultless defense in your Air Dash causes Chipp to fall to the ground faster. This is important for Chipp because it allows his jumping slash to hit his opponents closer to the ground and closer to them, which allows him to confirm into a close slash rather than a far slash, as well as just being able to combo. Because if you do it without the Faultless defense, you land a jumping slash so high off the ground that you aren't able to get a combo off of it into close slash, and you're also too far away to land a close slash anyways. Another benefit of this setup is that it puts Chipp close enough to now be able to do a strike throw mix-up because he's close enough to just go in for a grab. Now for explaining how to do the setup, there's a few things that I want to point out. The first thing that I want to point out is that Leffen often starts this by using a back jump, not a neutral jump or a forward jump. Using a back jump creates a little bit more space between him and his opponent, which allows that Air Dash to potentially fall in front of his opponent or behind him. Or if it lands behind him, that is closer to them for him to get a combo even easier. Also, he sometimes mixes in using a neutral jump instead, just to make the mix-up more ambiguous as well, and for the opponent not really be able to tell the difference. It can be a little tricky getting yourself to press up and back so quickly if you needed to. So what I like to do is I like to hold up and back while my dust is finishing, or while my 2D is finishing. That makes it so that Chipp will perform the jump back motion the moment that he's able to. Once Chipp is in the air, I wait for him to reach the apex of his jump, the top of his jump, and then I initiate the Air Dash. It may seem like you're too high up in the air to do anything, but the Faultless defense cancel is what's going to allow you to drop down from that high height so quickly. So while the air dash is playing out, and it's important to know where in the air dash that you do it, because the properties of the faultless defense change depending on if you do it at the beginning of the air dash or at the end of the air dash. However, you just play with that timing. But while the air dash is going, you hold back and press 2 buttons to trigger the faultless defense. You only have to flutter it for a second, just enough to see the bubble. Once you've seen the bubble, Chipp will now start to fast fall towards the ground a little bit sooner and quicker than he normally would, which would allow you to land with slash. Playing with the timing of when you trigger the air dash or when you trigger the faultless defense can give you varying results of what side you land on. For example, if you jump and then actually do the air dash on your way down from the apex of Chipp's jump, then you're more likely to land in front of your opponent than behind your opponent. If you trigger your faultless defense early in the air dash, you're more likely to fall in front of your opponent than behind your opponent. Leffen also sets up a feint by starting this setup, and instead of doing the faultless defense cancel, he just uses 2K to come directly down on his opponent on the same side. This keeps your opponents honest and stops them from just trying to guess to the opposite side just because they see you doing the setup, because you can choose to use 2K to cancel the air dash and fall directly on them, and sometimes even the 2K can cross up on them as well. One thing to keep in mind is that this match footage is against Nagoriyuki and Ino, 2 characters that do not have DPs. So in the case of going against a character with the DP, you have to make sure that you time it properly and do it a little sooner just to make sure that it's a safe jump and you don't get blown up out of it. So when I try to think about how good offense is, I try to put myself in the shoes of the defender, right? And what I would have to do on my controller or pad or whatever I'm using to be able to block that situation, right? What makes this so good is that they're forced to block an overhead on the other side. In my opinion, that's a lot harder than flat out going for just the horizontal alphabet cross up that they can block low because it's a mid. The reason why I think it's harder because is that in trying to quickly switch over to the other side, blocking high, they can accidentally jump by accident, which is going to get them hit. While on the flip side, it's very easy to just switch down and back without having to mess up anything. So a cool thing people may not know is that Chipp, legacy-wise, Chipp is known for his faultless defense cancels in other games. And it's made its way into Strive too, but just in a slightly different way. Another thing that people may hear a lot too is that Chipp doesn't need teleports in Strive and that we have all the tools we need for teleports instead. But this is a great example of how the utility that teleport served in Xrd is basically still utilized in the same way by using this faultless defense cancel in Strive. For example, you knock your opponent down, you teleport behind them for an overhead on the other side. In Strive, you knock your opponent down, use the faultless defense cancel, it's an overhead on the other side. It's really cool that at its core, Chipp has the same playstyle, it's just translated a little differently in the new game. As I was saying earlier, it helps to think of the game functionally and what is it asking the defender to do to block it or to get out of it. Because while I agree teleports are a lot cooler, at the end of the day, we're still getting the same job done. Another thing that Leffen is really good at is incorporating dash pressure while using 5K, 2K, and close slash. Most Chipps, their block strings are fairly short because they don't really take those as opportunities to close space. What Leffen does is, while the opponent is worried about various alpha blades, he used that split second as an opportunity to close that space and to either go for a throw or extend his pressure by now resetting and getting close to them again.
Faultless as well. Meet and mix.
This is really good because it forces your opponent to actually make a decision and not just passively block. If they don't decide to press a button to stop you from dashing, you can just continuously attack, dash, attack, dash, attack, dash. If they don't, you can just continue to steal turns until you decide to stop or until they eventually get opened up. Having this down will make opening your opponents a lot easier because when you decide to finally Gatling that close slash into far slash instead of dashing, it's going to get that nice counter hit because they were expecting to stop you from dashing. Also, setting up throw pressure after this is going to encourage your opponent to try to tech when they see you going in. But if you go up and you attack rather than going for that grab, they're going to get hit and you're going to get a nice counter hit as well. So this is just a great way of setting up offense that seems really easy to deal with on the surface, but is forcing your opponent to act, which is now allowing you to get these things that you otherwise wouldn't get. A great way to practice this is to go into training mode and to take your opponent from the left side of the map to the right side of the map by only using 5Ks and dashing in between each 5K. If you're accidentally getting 6K, then start back at the top of the stage and then do it again. Eventually, you'll be able to seamlessly dash in between your 5Ks like it's nothing. Once you've gotten the 5K timing down, then you switch over to 2Ks and you do the same thing of doing 2Ks and dashing in between to get into the other side of the map. Once you get to the other side of the map, just go ahead and backwards throw them to be able to take them back to the start. Once you've gotten 2K down, you do the same thing with slash, with close slash. But after that, overall, you can mix it all together where you go 5K, 2K dash, 5K dash, 5K dash, 5K, 2K dash. So when you kind of get used to that, it allows you to have that natural flow of being able to dash between your buttons.
This is a technique that should be used when you think your opponent is sleeping at the wheel, because you are vulnerable while you're dashing forward.
Another interesting decision that Leffen makes is he uses his dust button as a burst bait.
But Leffen with the burst gets a counter hit in the corner, gonna launch him up.
What he does is late game when the opponent's low on health and still has burst, he'll Roman cancel and then he will use dust to pop them up in the air, and then he would choose to use multiple punches rather than going to like a close slash or far slash, because the punch button is really quick, has fast recovery, but it's multi-hitting, so it gets multiple times for your opponent to try to burst and for you to bait it out. It's really good for late game situations and something that I'm definitely going to add to my game as well. You could just try to burst bait by using a close slash and jump canceling, but this right here is a little safer because it's giving multiple opportunities to catch that. The most applicable situation is when you have match point and your opponent still has burst and you know for a fact that they're going to use it, you just don't know when. So this is how you can kind of, snuff out that last chance of them getting that comeback Leffen style. So the last thing that I would like to point out about Leffen's Chipp is the fact that he uses fast Roman cancels whenever he's trying to open someone up for the most part.
Blocks at the moment, but the blender isn't finished. The spin's still on. The spin cycle is to make the comeback, but he has to get in first. Needs to find an opening.
Finally gets opened up by the command grab as well.
While you can use regular Roman cancels to try to open up your opponent, what happens is that it's also giving your opponent time to sit there and think about what you're going to do next. So it's more on you as a player to keep it fresh, because of the fact that a good player is going to be able to react to whatever they see you do within that time bubble. However, using the fast Roman cancels the way that Leffen does gives your opponent basically no time to react to anything, and they had to already know that it was coming. Because Chipp is such a momentum-based character, Leffen used fast Roman cancels as a way of getting like a guaranteed mix to then snowball again and continue to try to run his pressure and take it from there. With Chipp, one of the hardest things to do is to get going once you've already been walled out and kind of defended against. It's kind of hard to get going and regain your footing, but once you've gotten going, it's hard to get stopped. So fast Roman cancels is a great way of using it as a lifeline to prevent yourself from just losing all momentum and now getting that traction back. While fast Roman cancels aren't going to lead to like the craziest damage, it's great for being able to open someone up. I think that once you have someone in a combo already, I will prefer to use regular Roman cancels to be able to get that free movement however I want, to position myself to be able to follow up in the future. For example, using a regular Roman cancel to then position myself to then get the full corner carry is something that Leffen does also as well. But it's in understanding that fast Roman cancels are better for opening people up and regular Roman cancels are better for end combos.
Learning all of these things individually is great, but what makes it really effective is when you put it all together. Here's a clip from Leffen's plays with him doing just that.
Up mix. Hard knockdown once again. Same side. RC extension. Where you going?
If you guys finished the video and enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe to help me out. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys next time.